I think that regardless, it's not a fun scenario to be in because you either, and I believe was it the Stanford experiment?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Talking with the prisons and the
yes.
inmates, the guards?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if y'all didn't know this, I've been in law enforcement before, and the bystander effect is aggressively apparent the longer you spend around people that are given power that's unchecked. It's aggressively apparent. It honestly is something that you take for granted if you're in the scenario and you see it happening, because you also know that it's another complex situation. But in this regard, I mean, unfortunately, sometimes you gotta do hard shit. Yeah. You know, if somebody's fucking up, it is not okay to incite violence. I think anyone that's listening to this in their right mind could agree that it is not okay or it should be allowed to incite violence against women. Yeah. I think that that's absolutely ridiculous. And if you're listening to this and you feel otherwise, pull up on us and, you know, we can have a conversation. But I think that it's, you know, it's a very complicated conversation because there is, like, for example, last week, bartending, right? Last week, somebody and their significant other, they were at the bar, and he put his hands on her and slammed her on the bar. Prior to him slamming her on the bar, she slapped him, backhanded across the face in front of everyone. So in those situations,
that should be lit at that bar, boy.
I'm sitting there like, I have your credit card. I need you to tip. Mm-hmm. Who do I take down? Because you just backhanded him, but you slammed her on the bar. Yeah. I'm not cool with either of those. Yeah. Like, security, can you get involved? But then let's also look at this. Someone that's hired to do security, not doing their damn job. I should not, and I think that this is how it should be. You should be able to check your own homies before someone that's working security at the bar or somebody else that's a bystander that's maybe got training in mixed martial arts or what have you, or is just willing to take one for the team and make sure that you don't do that, comes and intervenes. We are past a point where it's just okay to just let our friends, our acquaintances, or what have you, just have their way and do whatever they want to do, and us pretend like, that doesn't matter to me, that doesn't bother me. It's not something I would do, but, like, you know, not my animal, not my circus kind of thing. Like, yeah. Okay, that only works for so long because then you're part of the problem. It only works at a level where it's not escalated to the point where people are beating each other, mm-hmm. you know, or holding each other against one another's will. So the short answer is I don't fucking know what the answer is, because in my view, I would rather put down one of my friends with an elbow across the face and break your orbital bone if you're doing some fuck shit that you shouldn't be doing. I would prefer to do that. Because for you to be out of line, you've got to understand where I sit on that. If you call me your friend, you're going to feel that friend elbow. Like, that's some dumb shit.
And it's out of love.
And I'm not interested in being around people that can't take that and then move forward on, like, okay, yeah, I can't be doing shit like that. If I want this person in my life, I need to act right. I need to act better. I need to do right by others. Mm-hmm. I don't think that it's always that serious to take an elbow across somebody's face. Yeah. But even sometimes, listen to how the guys and the girls, or the men and the women in your life, are speaking about the opposite sex or whoever they're attracted to. Maybe that same sex.
Lily was going to be a follow-up, yeah.
Listen to how they're communicating about the people that they're spending time with. It is often very apparent how they view that individual, what context they view that individual in. And it's not to say you can't get your rocks off. Get your rocks off. Consensual interactions between adults, not my business. What you do in the bedroom, not my business, so long as no one's being held against their will or it's non-consensual. And I think that these bar situations where men love to just walk by and grab somebody's ass and do this and do that. Yeah. And we're not talking about isolated incidents either. We're not talking about someone gets out of line, they get back in line. Okay, yeah, you can accept responsibility for what you did there, but how about the individuals that are repeat offenders here? And it's intentional.
It's the strategy. They're okay. I'm going to go to the club tonight. I'm going to grab a couple asses. I'm going to talk crazy to a couple hoes and see who bites.
Because someone might.
And a lot of times, if we just keep it in a buck, there are plenty of people who fit those parameters who want to bite. But all along the way, and that person wanting to bite is its own issue in and of itself. It's probably from a lack of self-love, not seeing good relationships modeled in the past, daddy issues, mommy issues, whatever. But all along the way, there's like this collateral damage of all these people who got violated, and just because somebody's at the club, just because they're drinking, just because they look good, just because they flirting.
Just because they're showing off assets.
You know what I'm saying? There's
not permission.
No promise, no guarantee of anything other than what has happened up to that point. And the thing that I was thinking about is what happens afterwards, right? So you got a homeboy, he's wilding out a bit, being a little more aggressive than he needs to be. You check him, whether that's just with a shoulder tap, whether that's with like, hey, homie, we leaving, whether that's you hit him in the orbital, whatever it is, but then that follow-up. Because even when you brought this to my attention, when you did, the thing I suggest, because you had one look of basically that there was such disgust of like, bro, I don't even want to fuck with this cat anymore. And then what I said to you was, here's the funny thing about that situation though, man. If you got a homeboy and you use more military analogies than most people I know. And so I'm like, okay, if you're thinking about, a man down, to me, that behavior is the same kind of concept of a man down, right? If they're already in your circle, then it would stand to reason that this person has some kind of quality that made them worth being around. And if they don't, then it's like, okay, well, they audit why you spend time with this person, right? But if that is the premise there, and that these behaviors or these habituations are demons that are still being worked out of their system, well then instead of completely dropping this person, wiping your hands clean of them and moving on, which is entirely okay to do. By no means am I saying it's not.
I mean, you don't ever have to ask for permission to do that.
You know what I'm saying? There's no need to explain it either, but understanding that that's going to have its own consequence versus if you check the friend, but then you stick around almost with contingencies in place. As like a probationary period of like, okay, look, we go way back, you my boy, you my girl, whatever. But that shit that happened was foul. I don't fuck with that shit in any way, shape, form. It really should never happen again. And so then once you put this person on notice, who knows what they're gonna do in their own free time. But ideally that should set a framework or a scenario where they know, at least if they're in your presence, if I'm around James, if I'm around Sae'Von, this shit ain't finna fly because we've done it once. We saw how it played out. And let's say the situation was more amicably resolved with no violence necessary. Maybe communicate like, look, bro, I was pretty low key this time, but do that shit again, I'm fucking you up. And that whole approach ideally being one that allows you to not abandon somebody, a fallen soldier, a fallen comrade, when in reality they're really showing you that they need guidance, they need help, they need mentorship.
They need assistance, they need someone to grab them and like, all right, this ain't gonna be fun, but we're gonna drag.
Yeah, because it's like either I can let you get pulled down by the rip current and die, or struggle a little bit, feel like a kind of waterboarding, you're up, you're down, but ultimately we get you out of there. And in my mind, even though in some senses, situations that could feel like the harder thing to do, and obviously there are some things where like, if you cross this boundary, I'm not fucking with you at all, right? We're just here two guys spitballing over 30 minutes. We can't get into every situation. Yeah. But assuming it's nothing to that degree of foulness, that ideally that brings that person to a better state of wholeness down the road, and it can even strengthen that bond because that person has obviously demonstrated that they need a little bit of guidance. And so if one feels up to the task, and you don't have to, just know that dynamic in the relationship is often, it probably means it's going to need to change a bit to be more of a mentor-mentee relationship versus a, comrade, equal, 50-50, we buddies sort of vibe, and maybe need to be a little bit more paternalistic, a little bit more, maternal. But if you're down for that.
Yeah. But that peer accountability mentor-mentee works with sponsors for AA and NA.
Very point.
It's something that, like, hey, you're both, and there's more synergy between the two because they've both struggled with the same things that one is helping the other with. Now, can't say that I've ever been in a situation where I'm walking around and that's my mission. Like, I don't know. I'm a little bit more suave with my words.
How's it going to describe it?
I've never felt the need to go down that path, and I think that it's not always something that's been front of mind either, though, until I see it. There's like certain things that people, I mean, you could say this about a lot of things. There's certain things that people in my immediate circle do not do at all, period, end of story. So when I see it sometimes, I'm like a little bit, what'd you just do? What'd you just say? You know, so it kind of, it doesn't necessarily throw the urgency out. It more so just, it brings it back to my attention and brings it front of mind because I don't see it day in, day out. But I think that the answer is definitely violence last there, you know? But I also think that has to do with context. If you punch a girl in the face in front of me, it's like, that's it, dude. I mean, I'm not even going to apologize. We'll take whatever comes from it. Like, that's, you know, it doesn't matter what the outcome is, how I end up there at the end of the day. I won't put up with that, period.